Okay, so let's talk money. And I keep getting asked a lot by some of the people like on Twitter and Facebook, what's the whole shindig with Spain? And you can register players at this time, you can register players at this time. Barcelona, we see every single season for the past 3 years go through this process. There was a league game, I think, between Sevilla and another team where basically half of
Each
the
team had
Sevilla
five players.
players
Each team had five players in their stands. They hadn't
they
registered. Yeah,
hadn't
I think it
registered,
was
they hadn't registered
Sevilla and Getafe. I
at
think
Getafe.
Sevilla and Getafe. Yeah.
You know, what is going on in Spain that is what is it with money and the registration? Why don't they have money in Spain? Why are they broke? The England boys are chilling. Explain that.
Well, Premier League money. You see, I always say the Premier League is the Super League because if you look at the top 20 richest clubs in the world right now,
Yeah.
I think about 11 or 12 are Premier League teams
Hmm.
or something ridiculous like that. It's a lot of Premier League teams in there. At least, even West Ham, my top 20 richest club in the world right now. You wouldn't think it, but they're up there. So I think Spain is very simple. I think before Javier Tebas became Spanish FA president, a lot of clubs were in serious financial trouble,
Hmm.
right? So he saw this situation and he created a new spending limit
Tibas is
system.
La
So
Liga. Tibas is La Liga.
La Liga president, not FA. Yeah, sorry, La Liga president. Thank you for the correction. I think that a lot of clubs were in trouble in their football pyramid. So he thought about this and like, look, we need a system to fix this. So the spending limit and why the registration rules keep happening is that so the La Liga clubs have a formula of how much they can spend. It's spend, not even just on players and stuff. So spend on everything. Stadium maintenance, player salaries, transfers, whatever. They can spend maybe, so let's say you are Real Madrid, you can spend 100, right?
Yeah.
Based on your revenue. But the revenue and then minus your debts and that kind of stuff. So they tell you how much you can spend. So based on that calculation, that's why the registration rules come in. Because when you're above a certain limit, they tell you how much of your future income can be put towards the budget. So that's why you hear about Barcelona being in 1-to-1, are trying to get to 1-to-1, right?
Yeah.
Because the 1-to-1 means that they can spend every euro that comes in, they can spend it. A lot of the time they've been in 1-to-2, 1-to-3. So for every €3 that come in, they can spend one, that kind of thing. So the whole idea is that you don't want football clubs going bust. And I think this is important because we've seen it in football a lot. We've seen Fiorentina go to Serie C. We've seen Napoli go to Serie C, all because of financial. We've seen Parma go to Serie C. We've seen what happened to Leeds. We've seen what's happened to Sunderland. So you see teams having financial trouble all the time. Look at Bordeaux. Bordeaux, one of the grand teams in France, relegated to the fourth tier because of financial issues. I know a lot of people don't like it, but the truth is, a lot of football clubs, they just keep spending and spending money they don't have, hoping to eventually reach the promised land and then pay it all back. But it's a rat race. You're going to keep spending money to stay in that position. So for me, Tebas has made a difficult decision. He's decided to prioritize the long-term future of Spanish football by making it difficult for clubs to bankrupt themselves. And obviously, the clubs are not happy because football has run on this system where clubs are always spending money they don't necessarily have on the promise of tomorrow. I think football is one of those things where debt is okay because a lot of clubs are in debt. But eventually, it reaches a point where clubs have to, someone has to tell them that, look, it's time to stop. So I support Javier Tebas. I know it's not very popular, but he has to keep doing what he's doing because for me, he has to keep it. Like, we've seen too many football clubs go bust. And I
Yeah.
think for me, it's more important that football clubs stay sustainable, they stay in business because these are community projects. They employ loads of people. And just the joy. Look at a town like Villarreal,
Yeah.
where the town of Villarreal alone is what, 30 to 5,000 people, and their stadium is 40,000. And they're able to fill that stadium because the people around come. The Ceramica, they make tiles and that kind of stuff. I'm sure you can buy Ceramica tiles in Accra if you look around hard enough. They own the club. They put money into it. It's a community project. Now imagine if Mr. Ceramica, I don't know the family name, but I'll just call them the Ceramica family. Mr. Ceramica has a son who decides Villarreal has to win the Champions League, and he pumps money, pumps money, pumps money. Money that Villarreal doesn't have. The business has 1 or 2 bad years, which we've seen with other teams. The Chinese Super League. What happened after COVID? Clubs were just shut down like that because
Mhm.
the billionaire owners decided that This is not a sustainable model. And even I can give you an example that everyone sees. AC Milan. A lot of the people don't realize that the reason why AC Milan has had a lot of problems was Silvio Berlusconi was not running it like a business. He was just putting money in it to kind of, I want to win things. And it reached a point, his company had been handed over to his daughter. So his daughter said, this asset loses too much money. I'm not going to allow you to continue wasting our money on something that doesn't make money. So Berlusconi stopped investing. And because the club was not built to make profits, they started becoming poor. If you remember, 2012, that's why they sold Thiago Silva and Ibrahimovic to PSG, because the club was not making money. If you remember the signings Milan used to make at the time, they'll look at who the PL teams, Real Madrid, Barca want to get rid of, buy them, free transfers, random loans. Look, there's no reason why AC Milan should have been starting players like Gabriel Paletta, Kevin Constant, those type of players. That's not AC Milan level, but there was no money. And that's because the club was not run seriously. So when it came time for the club to generate its own revenue, renew their team, there was no system. The youth system was not invested in. And that is what happens. Look at Malaga. If you remember the players Malaga were buying.
Oh, yeah.
A good example. Where are they now? You need to run a club like a business or you won't go far. And that's what Javier Tebas is trying to create in La Liga. And that's why it's going to be a lot of short-term pain. It's going to keep being that way. But if you don't have the revenue streams to spend money like the Premier League and you don't run your club like a business, you don't run it sustainably, we're going to see a lot of clubs collapsing. And that's what he's trying to stop. So for me, it's very admirable. Short-term pain. People will tell you that he's killing the league and that kind of stuff. But what will kill the league faster? Clubs going out of business or clubs not just spending money ridiculously? I think for me, this is the lesser of two evils by far. So I think people should relax on Javier Tebas. I know, and he's a bit of I'm trying to find the word. He's abrasive. He's abrasive as well. So it doesn't help. But I think his goals are very admirable. So I'm not going to knock it out. So I'm a big supporter of it because football clubs are not as sustainable as they pretend to be. And when someone makes them sustainable, we are seeing the issues with them. Because if they were run sustainably, why would they be such a problem?